is a reason you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. It is not random. It is not meaningless. In fact, it may be one of the most sacred signals your body and mind are sending you, but only if you're quiet enough to listen. In the silence of those early hours, the world is still. There are no distractions, no noise, no demands. And in that stillness, the inner world begins to stir. This is not a mistake. This is alignment. What most dismiss as insomnia may be a calling, a soft pull from the deeper self that is trying to reach the surface. Most people feel discomfort in these moments. They toss, they turn, they check the clock, they reach for their phone. It's the invitation. But that resistance is the real cause of the suffering, not the hour itself. Because something powerful lives in those quiet hours between 3 and 5 a.m. A doorway, a frequency. Space between night and day, when the mind is most quiet and the soul is most loud. In many ancient traditions, this time is sacred, known as the hour of the spirit. The veil between the conscious and subconscious is thin, the breath is deeper, the energy is subtle. It is a time of reflection, insight, and transformation. And if you keep waking up during these hours, it means your inner world is knocking. Something is shifting inside you. Cycle is completing. A truth is trying to emerge, but instead of ignoring it or fearing it, learn to work with it. The question is not, how do I get back to sleep? The real question is, why am I being woken up? Is it emotional restlessness? A thought left unresolved? Is it the stress of what you carry during the day that has no space to be felt? Or is it something deeper? A signal that your spirit is ready for alignment, but your habits are not. Pattern repeats. When the body wakes you up at this hour, you are being invited to become conscious at a time when you are usually unconscious. You are being asked to meet yourself in the silence, not with distraction, not with worry, but with presence. What you do in those moments matters. It sets the tone not only for the rest of your sleep, but for the unfolding of your inner life. This speech is not just about sleep, about awakening to the signs your body is giving you, to the emotions your mind has buried, and to the messages your deeper self is trying to deliver. If you've been waking up at this time consistently, is not a coincidence, it's a pattern. And all patterns carry meaning. Rather than resisting the early waking hours, what if you entered them with intention? What if you treated them not as a problem, but as a practice? There are 4 powerful principles that will help you respond wisely to this sacred window of time. 4 actions you can take, not to force sleep, but to receive what your system is trying to tell you. These are not complicated. They are ancient, practical, grounded, and when practiced with discipline, they will not only transform your sleep, they will transform your relationship with your own inner guidance. Because what you do when the world is asleep reveals who you truly are. Waking up early is not just about restlessness. It is a spiritual alarm clock, a whisper that says, now is the time to return. To listen is your moment. The outer world may be quiet, but within you something important is speaking, so don't roll over and silence it. Rise. Observe. Let the stillness show you what daytime noise hides. Is not about sleep anymore. This is about awakening. The first step when you wake between 3 and 5 a.m. is to become aware of your internal state without resistance. Most people immediately respond to waking at this hour with frustration. They look at the clock, calculate how many hours are left to sleep, and begin to mentally fight the moment. That reaction, subtle as it may be, already pollutes the opportunity hidden in the silence. When your body wakes at this hour, the first discipline is not to move immediately. Do not rush to fix. Do not rush to sleep. Not rush to distract. Simply stay still. Observe. What is the rhythm of your breath? Is it deep or shallow? What emotions rise to the surface? Anxiety, restlessness, clarity, sometimes even a sense of peace that confuses you. Notice, this stillness becomes your gateway, your doorway into what lies beneath the surface. Because when your body wakes before the sun, it is not always because something is wrong. Sometimes because something is trying to align, and you cannot align with it if you rush to escape it. In the early hours, your conscious mind is still soft. It is not yet burdened by tasks or expectations, has not yet put on the armor of identity and routine. So when you wake at this time, your subconscious is more accessible. The layers between thought and truth are thinner. You allow yourself to sit in this space without judgment. You begin to access insight, not through logic, but through presence. This is not meditation in the traditional sense. It is observation. You are watching the self without interference, noticing where the tension lives in the body, noticing what thoughts arise without being pulled into their story. It is a practice of becoming the mirror, still, reflective, undistorted. What begins to emerge in this space may surprise you. Memories long forgotten, emotions not fully processed, visions of what you truly want. The mind is not generating these. Your deeper self is surfacing them. It can only do so when you are quiet enough to hear. This moment, if treated with reverence, becomes more than a random interruption in sleep. It becomes a ritual, a sacred checkpoint, a pause between the noise of yesterday and the expectations of tomorrow. It is the one time of day when no one needs you, when nothing is demanded of you, and when the mind is most ready to listen. It's not a disturbance. It is an invitation. To truly receive what this hour offers, you must shift your attitude from reaction to attention. Instead of asking, "Why am I awake?" begin to asking to be seen. Instead of fighting the moment, enter it. Not with pressure, not with force, but with curiosity and calm. You may not receive immediate answers. You may not hear anything profound. That does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, some of the deepest cleansing occurs in silence. The body relaxes, the breath deepens, the mind begins to unravel its grip, and your aura, the energy that surrounds you, begins to settle. A pool that was stirred and now begins to still. This stillness is not passive. It is powerful, because in stillness, your true state becomes visible. And from that visibility, real transformation can begin, but only if you allow it. Only if you stop trying to control every moment and begin to witness it with presence. It is also important to observe the patterns. Do you wake at this time every night? Does it follow moments of stress or times of growth? Do you wake with a specific sensation, an emotion, an idea, a sudden clarity? The more you track it, the more you begin to understand that your body and mind are in conversation. You are not a malfunctioning machine. You are a deeply intelligent being responding to inner and outer shifts. The world will tell you to fix your sleep. But maybe what needs fixing is not your sleep, but your relationship with silence. Maybe this hour is not about sleep at all. Maybe it's about returning to a rhythm your soul has not forgotten, but your habits have. So the next time you wake at 3T Hodl U or 4-3, do not panic. Do not reach for noise, for stillness. Let the breath find its natural rhythm. Let the body speak. Let the thoughts rise and fall without holding on to them. And most importantly, listen. You are not broken for waking. You are being invited to awaken. When the body wakes between 3 and 5 a.m., what often goes unnoticed is the invitation to align the breath. This may seem simple, but it is one of the most powerful adjustments you can make. Not just to return to sleep, to re-enter harmony. The breath is the bridge between the unconscious and the conscious, the mind and the body, the seen and the unseen. And in these early hours, the breath becomes a gateway. Many people who wake at this time experience restlessness, not always in thought, but in energy. The body feels alert. The chest may feel heavy. The heart may beat faster than usual, and often the breath is shallow, confined to the upper chest, disconnected from the ground of being. The first step toward reclaiming that moment is to bring the breath back down, into the belly, into the base, into the earth. Begin simply. Breathe in through the nose, gently and fully, allowing the breath to move downward, not upward. Exhale through the mouth, releasing tension, releasing expectation, releasing effort. Let it become a rhythm, not controlled but conscious, not forced but faithful. This kind of breath is not for performance. It is not about how long you can hold or how deep you can go. It is about becoming present with the life force itself. Each inhale is a return. Exhale is a letting go. And the more you allow the breath to regulate itself through attention, the more your nervous system begins to calm, is vital, because many who wake during these hours are not suffering from lack of sleep, but from unresolved stimulation. The body may be still, but the energy is not. And breath is the natural rhythm that brings energy back into balance. As the breath deepens, the mind slows. Not because you silence it, but because you give it space to rest. Thoughts may come. They may swirl and shift. As you stay with the breath, something begins to happen. The thoughts lose their urgency. The emotion beneath them becomes visible. And instead of reacting, you begin observing. This shift from identification to observation is healing. It happens through breath. In many ancient traditions, this time between 3 and 5 a.m. is called the time of spiritual breath. The hours when the breath carries not just air, but insight. The outer world is quiet, so the inner world can speak, and the breath is its language. If you keep waking up during this window, and if your first response becomes conscious breathing rather than complaint, you will begin to experience a deep recalibration. Not every time, not instantly, but gradually the layers that usually keep you numb will begin to dissolve. You will notice your sensitivity increasing, not as weakness, but as precision. You will feel more. You will sense more. You will know when something is off before it becomes a problem. This is because breath clears the fog from the mind. It polishes the lens of perception. It opens the space within which clarity can emerge. In the early morning hours, breathing with awareness is like sweeping the temple floor before the day begins. You are not solving anything. You are simply preparing. And in this preparation, healing begins. Sometimes you may return to sleep. Sometimes you may not. Sleep is not always the highest goal. Peace is. And peace often arrives not through hours of rest, but through moments of presence. When you rise and breathe with awareness at this sacred hour, your entire energy field responds. The tightness begins to loosen. The weight you didn't realize you were carrying begins to lift. The heaviness that made you feel disconnected starts to dissolve. You don't need to breathe for hours. Conscious breaths are often enough to reset the system, not to force an outcome, but to become available to whatever is true in that moment. This is a discipline. And discipline is not about rigidity. It is about consistency. You make this a practice each time you wake up early, your relationship with this hour will change. It will no longer feel like an interruption. It will feel like a return to presence, a return to rhythm, a return to yourself. Breath is always with you, but most of the day, it is forgotten. These early hours are your reminder that you are not the storm of your thoughts. You are the silence that watches them, and breath is your anchor. So when the world is asleep and your eyes open in the darkness, do not be afraid. Sit, breathe, and listen to what the silence has been trying to say. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. is not only a signal, it's a moment of potential transformation. Once awareness and breath have returned, the next step is reflection. Not the kind of thinking that leads to overanalysis or mental loops. And a quiet, disciplined inward look, this time invites you to observe what you've been carrying in silence. Often, what wakes you is not the body's need for rest, but the soul's need to be heard. Reflection in this hour is different from daytime contemplation. When you reflect during the day, your thoughts are often filtered through roles and responsibilities. But in the early morning, you are not a worker, a partner, a parent, student. You are simply a being. And in that state, you are more honest. The ego is soft. The defenses are lowered. And the truth is more accessible. Use this time to gently scan your inner world. What is unsettled? What part of you has been speaking but ignored? It may be a subtle anxiety from a recent conversation. It may be regret from a decision made too quickly. Or it may be something deeper, something that has lived in your chest for years, but never found the right moment to rise. That moment may be now. This reflection is not intellectual. It is not about solving problems, about recognizing patterns. The pattern may be emotional, feeling ungrounded, unsatisfied, incomplete. It may be energetic, feeling drained after certain experiences or overly reactive in situations that don't call for it. Signals often come at night because the distractions are gone. In the silence, your true inner state emerges. To reflect effectively, bring pen and paper near your resting place. Not to journal extensively. Just a few lines needed. Write what you feel without judgment, without trying to make it poetic or wise. Just honest, raw, real. Sometimes writing down a single sentence is enough to bring relief. I feel unseen. I'm afraid of change. I'm tired of pretending. In the daylight, these sentences get buried under tasks. But at 3 a.m., they rise. And instead of pushing them back down, reflection lets them be witnessed. And when something is witnessed in full presence, it begins to lose its grip. Do not be surprised if the same theme keeps returning. That's not failure. That's the depth of it surfacing. Layers rising, one at a time. You're not going in circles. You're going deeper. There is also a spiritual reason reflection matters in this window. In many traditions, the hours before dawn are believed to be when the subconscious mind is most accessible, is when intuition is strongest. This is when inner guidance is clearest, but only if the mind is quiet enough to receive. So, ask simple questions, not from fear, but from curiosity. What do I need to let go of? What part of me am I neglecting? What is trying to emerge in my life? These are not questions to answer quickly. They are questions to hold gently, like a candle in the dark. Let them light what they will. Let the answers arrive slowly, in fragments over days. This is not a time to rush truth. It is a time to sit with it. The beauty of reflection is that it prepares you. It shows you what must be released, what must be healed, what must be faced. When the same issue wakes you every night, it is not a curse. It is a signal. A pattern that has not yet been resolved. And once you see it clearly, you are no longer its prisoner. You can choose how to respond. This is why the 3 to 5 a.m. window is sacred. You are being shown what you're too busy to see during the day. You're being guided inward, not to isolate, but to integrate. As this becomes a practice, your relationship with early waking will shift. Instead of dread, you will feel reverence. You will come to appreciate the intimacy of these hours, the stillness, the clarity, the honesty, and that appreciation itself begins to soften the mind, which in turn calms the body, allowing deeper rest to return. And even if you don't fall back asleep, you will not suffer from it, because energy is not only restored through hours of sleep, but through moments of deep peace. Reflection gives you that peace, because what agitates the mind most is not lack of sleep, but lack of alignment. When reflection becomes regular, your nights become lighter, not because life is easier, but because you are no longer running from yourself in the dark. So the next time you wake, don't rush to fix it. Sit with yourself. Breathe. Reflect. Let your own silence teach you what your thoughts never could. After you've become aware, realigned your breath, and reflected deeply, the fourth and final step is intention. Early morning hours are not just for observation, they are a doorway for transformation. Waking up at this time is not a disturbance. It is a spiritual signal. If you ignore it, you miss the message. If you listen, you open yourself to inner evolution. But to move from listening to living, you need intention. Intention is what converts awareness into change. It is what bridges reflection and action. Without it, insight gained in the silence becomes another thought left behind. But when you shape a clear and grounded intention during these early hours, it enters the body, the breath, the mind, and begins to influence your day before it begins. Forming intention at this hour is different from goal setting. You are not listing tasks. You are not chasing outcomes. You are aligning energy. Intention is not about what you want to do. It is about who you choose to be. You've listened to the breath. You've felt the emotion. You've written or noticed the patterns. Now, what will you do with what you've learned? The most powerful intentions are quiet. They do not demand attention. They do not need affirmation. They live within you and subtly reshape how you move. An intention might be, I will remain grounded no matter what today brings. Or, I will speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. Or, I release what no longer belongs in my heart. You do not need many words. One clear phrase is often more effective than a list of desires. The key is sincerity. You must mean it. You must feel it. Must come from the depths of reflection, not from the surface of reaction. To anchor your intention, speak it softly. If possible, whisper it aloud. Let your own voice hear it. Let your breath carry it into the atmosphere around you. Speak not to impress, speak to declare, not to others, to yourself. Then sit with that intention. Let it settle into the body. Let it move through the spine, into the feet, into the hands. Feel what it would mean to live from that place today. Not perfectly, not without challenge, but sincerely, as best as you can. This moment of setting intention becomes the shift. Even if you fall back asleep afterward, something within you has already awakened. And if you do not sleep again, you have still done something sacred. You have listened, you have breathed, you have reflected. And now you have planted a seed. Intention transforms this early hour into a training ground. Every time you wake, it is a repetition, a chance to refine awareness, a chance to reinforce discipline, a chance to build inner alignment before the world distracts you from it. Over time, your intentions will evolve. What starts as a desire for calm may become a practice of courage. What starts as emotional release may become service to others. You are not just calming your mind, you are sharpening your spirit. You are not just managing sleep, you are preparing to meet life with strength. And the effects are not temporary. When you form your state of being before sunrise, your entire day follows that rhythm. You move differently, speak with more clarity. You respond with more balance. People notice. But more importantly, you notice. You notice how little you're controlled by noise and how much you're rooted in purpose. This is not a shortcut, not an instant solution. It is a path, one that demands honesty, consistency, and attention. But it is also a path with deep reward. Because when you live with intention, you live with power. Not the power to control others, but the power to guide yourself. So, when you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m. or 4:30 a.m., stop asking what's wrong. Start asking what is ready. What is ready to be faced? What is ready to be healed? Ready to be lived? And once you hear the answer, do not rush past it. Form it into an intention, and let that intention carry you, not just through the rest of the night, but into the day ahead. Because this time is not random, and you are not waking by accident. Something deep within you is rising. Let it rise with purpose. Let it rise with clarity. Let it rise with silence and strength. There is a reason the world is silent between 3 and 5 a.m. In that space, where darkness still clings to the sky and most of the world sleeps, something rare becomes available. Stillness. Not the stillness of the body, but the stillness of mind, of spirit, of energy. And if you find yourself waking during this time again and again, it's not to disturb you, it's to awaken you. This hour does not wake everyone, but it is waking you. And that means something is ready. Something within you is asking for attention, asking for space. Not to punish you, not to frighten you, but to bring you back to yourself. The first thing to remember is this: don't resist it. The more you fight the moment, the heavier it becomes. But when you accept it, even before understanding it, the energy begins to shift. Stay still. Observe. Let the body remain soft and the breath remain quiet. In that simple act of non-resistance, the door opens. The breath becomes your guide, not because it fixes the situation, but because it anchors you in presence. As the world sleeps and thoughts begin to rise, your breath reminds you that you are still here, still breathing, still alive. And in every inhale, there is a return to calm. In every exhale, a letting go. You do not need to force sleep, you need to find balance. And breath brings balance. As the breath settles, reflection begins. Not forced, not analytical. Honest. What needs to be felt? What patterns are repeating? What parts of yourself have gone unheard for too long? These questions do not need immediate answers. They are not puzzles to be solved. They are openings, ways where light can begin to shine through. Sometimes the simple act of acknowledging what is there is enough. Awareness alone is cleansing. And once that awareness arrives, intention must follow. Because if you do not form intention, insight will fade. You will wake, feel something stir, and then forget. But when you declare a clear inner direction, something real, something grounded, you transform the experience. Hour is not something that happened to you. It becomes something that awakened you. A daily discipline, a secret ritual, a spiritual training. Your intention does not need to be grand. Let it be honest. Let it come from the depth of what you felt. Speak it softly. Today I walk with presence. Or I choose to respond, not react. Let it sink into the body. Let it move through your breath. Let it become part of how you rise in the morning. And this is the shift. You stop seeing the early hour as a problem. You start seeing it as practice. And with practice, everything begins to transform. Not because the outer world changes, but because you are no longer carried by it. You carry yourself. Waking between 3 and 5 a.m. is no longer disturbing. It becomes sacred. It is where you meet yourself, where you learn to breathe, to listen, to reflect, and to align. Is where you practice being who you are before the noise of the world tells you who to be. This is not about sleep anymore. It is about awakening. And if you honor this process, over time you will notice something profound. Even if the pattern stops, even if you sleep through the night again, the lessons remain. You will carry more presence, more awareness, more calm. Not because the world is quieter, but because you have learned to find silence within. So if you find yourself waking again tomorrow, do not rush to forget. Do not reach for distraction. Just breathe. Just listen. Just sit with yourself and speak the quiet intention that lives in your chest. You are not broken. You are being called not to rise for the world, but to rise for yourself. Answer the call in silence, in breath, in stillness, and in truth.